Hello everyone. So in this lecture we will study the classification of sensors. So as you know this world is divided into natural and man-made objects. The natural sensor like those found in the living organisms usually respond with signals having electrochemical characters. That is their physical nature. It is based on the ion transport like in the nerve fibers such as an optic nerve in the fluid tank operator. So you know that natural sensors are found in the living organism. Vision, our eyes can sense vision, our nose can sense smell, our skin can sense hotness or coldness of an object. So these are the natural sensors that are present in the living organism, and these sensors how they will respond the signal with signal which have electrochemical characters like our optic nerve is used for light detection and for vision detection. So we have these type of natural sensor present in the living organism. They uses ion transport. But in case of man-made devices, information is also transmitted. Information can be transmitted and processed in electrical form. However, through the transport of electrons, here the information is carried by displacement of electrons rather than ions. So in man-made devices, uh, how the information travel through the electrons. So we can say that displacement of electrons. They will not use any electrochemical character or ion transport phenomena. Hence, here we use a somewhat narrower definition of a sensor, which may be phrased as a sensor. It is a device that receives a stimulus and responds with an electrical signal. So, we have here a narrow definition for the sensor. In this book, what we will use a sensor, it is a device that receives a stimulus. What is a stimulus or measurement? It is the quantity, property, or condition that is received. Means light, temperature, pressure, force. These are known as stimulus or measurement, which we want to measure. And these properties, quantities, or condition can be converted into electrical signal. And example of stimuli are also given: light intensity, wavelength, sound, force, acceleration, distance, rate of motion, and chemical composition. So these sensor will respond to these stimulus and always produces an electrical signal. So here we studied the definition of sensor and what is the definition of stimulus and measurement. So when we say electrical, what is the advantage of electrical? We mean a signal which can be channeled. We can transmit this signal by some channels, wireless channel or wired channel, amplified. This signal can be amplified, modified by electronic devices. The terms sensor and term detector are synonymous. As I told you that there are some terms that is confusing. They can be used interchangeably and have the same meaning. However, detector is more often used to stress qualitative rather than quantitative nature of measurement. So if you are measuring qualitatively, we may use the same thing as detector, but if you are measuring the quantity or quality or property, then you can say that you are using sensor there. For example, a PIR, that is passive infrared detector, is employed to indicate just the existence of the human movement, but generally cannot measure direction, speed, or acceleration. So, infrared detector can only be used for detection of movement, but it can't detect direction, speed, and acceleration of the object which is moving. The term sensor should be distinguished from transducer. So we already differentiated between transducer and sensor. So what what is a transducer? It is a converter of one type of energy into another type of energy or property, whereas the former converts it into electrical signal. I think you must have cleared this definition in previous lecture. An example of transducer is a loudspeaker, which converts an electrical signal into a variable magnetic field, and then that is converted into acoustic wave. So transducer's best example is loudspeaker. Transducer may be part of hybrid or complex sensor. So in sensor, uh, we may have different transducer present inside the sensor. So here I am taking an example of chemical sensor. This chemical sensor may have two parts. So what first part will do? The first part converts energy of an exothermal chemical reaction into heat. Firstly, the energy of chemical reaction is converted into heat, and then in another part, a thermopile can be used to convert that heat into electrical output signal. So here, sensor is using two parts, or sensing is done in two parts. First, the chemical energy is converted into heat, and that heat energy is converted into electrical output signal. So a sensor does not function by itself. Sensor, uh, it is always a part of larger system that may incorporate many other detectors. Like in figure 2, we can say that at output we have direct sensor, but total sensor may incorporate many other detectors or transducers, or signal conditioner or processors or memory devices, data recorders and actuators. So actually this sensor will produce electrical signal, but many transformation step can be done within the sensor, and that transformation steps can be done by using detectors, signal conditioner, processor, memory devices, etc. To illustrate the place of sensor in a larger system, as uh, I said that sensor does not function by itself. First line, sensor does not by itself, it is always a part of some larger system. So we want to see the position of sensors in a system. So here what we mean by object can be anything. It can be a car, spaceship, animal or human, liquid or gas. It can be anything. Any material object may become a subject of some kind of measurement or control. So material object means uh, that object is subject of some kind of measurement. Data are collected from an object by a number of sensors. So from a car, space, animal or human, we can collect data by a number of sensors. Some of them, 2, 3, 4, are positioned directly or inside the object. So in this slide, we have an object here, and you can say that in object 2, 3, 4 are directly connected to the object. These sensors 2, 3, 4 are positioned directly on the sensor 1. Perceive the object without a physical contact, and then therefore it is called a non-contact sensor. So as you can see in the left hand side upper part, sensor 1, which is joined to the multiplexer through some interface circuit, it is a non-contact sensor. Why it is non-contact with it? Because it does not require any contact with the material object. Examples of such sensor is a radiation detector, TV camera that can detect radiation from the object. TV camera can detect the movement. Even if we say that non-contact, we remember that the energy transfer always occurs between a sensor and object. By non-contact, we do not say that energy is not transferring here. Here we have some energy transfer between the object and the sensor. One is non-contact sensor, 2, 3, 4 are contact sensor, and 5 sensor is different purpose. It monitors the internal condition of the data acquisition system itself. So here in figure 3 in the lower side you can see that this diagram shows the position of sensor in data acquisition system. Sensor 1 is non-contact, sensor 2, 3 are passive, sensor 4 is active, sensor 5 is internal to data acquisition. What is the function of this sensor 5? It records the internal condition of the data acquisition system itself. Some sensor 1 and 3 cannot be directly connected to standard electronic circuit because of the inappropriate output signal formats. So as you can see, they will require 1 and 3 will require some interfaces. So why we need interfaces? Because the signal generated by the sensor itself is not appropriate to be given to next module of the data acquisition system. So that signal must be properly formatted, or we can say that signal conditioner to produce the specific output format. So 1 and 3 are require interface, while sensor 1, 2, 3, 5 are passive because they generate electrical signal without energy consumption from the electronic circuit. Sensor 4 is an active. Why it is active? Because it requires an excitation circuit for its operation. To generate the signal through the sensor 4, it requires an electric signal that is provided by the excitation circuit.